Hi, this is Steve. I'm the founder of Art of Tea, and I'm going to answer the question today, what is tea? So this video is intended to be just a few minute snapshot on the difference between tea and non-tea and the different categories that fall in. The teas that we're going to be covering are teas that are sourced and blended by Art of Tea. So what does that mean and why is that important? Well, I'd like you to think about it like a bag of chips. On the top of the bag, you get these beautiful uniform shapes, and as you work your way down to the bottom, you get what's called powder or dust, or the technical term is called fannings. So what we source at Art of Tea is just the top 2%. So it's just the very top part of the bag. That's what we're sourcing, that's what we're blending and working with. All the teas that are produced in the world, we're just picking from the very, very best. So what is tea? Well, all true tea comes from Camellia sinensis. So I'd like you to think about it like wine. All wine typically comes from what type of fruit? Grapes. So depending on the type of grape that's used, how's it grown, how's it harvested, the artisan that's growing the grapes, as well as the artisan that's crushing the grapes and storing it and trying to make that perfect glass of wine. Now, of course, it depends on the terroir, depends on the elevation, depends on where in the world it's grown, the soil conditions, what's actually put in the soil. All these things play into making a great glass of wine. So the same sort of thing happens with tea. So depending on how it's grown, how it's harvested, the time of year, not only that it's picked, but that it's dried or roasted, all of those play into creating an amazing cup of tea. Again, all true tea comes from Camellia sinensis. So what is that? It's white tea, green tea, oolong tea, black tea, and pu-erh tea. And then of course, if it's not from Camellia sinensis, then guess what? It's not a tea. It's in a totally different category called tisane. And tisane is basically a fancy French word that means botanical. So like chamomile, for example, it's not a tea. Hibiscus or rooibos or yerba mate, it's not a tea. Doesn't mean that they're not amazing. Doesn't mean that you can't enjoy them and put hot water over it and steep it. It's just not truly a tea. And by the way, we're gonna go into another series really focusing on white and green and oolong and black and pu-erh and tisanes. Today is just meant to be just sort of an overlay. So white tea is picked and dried, that's it. There are three major grades of white tea. You have Baihao Yinzhen, which is silver needle, and it's called white tea because it has this very delicate down covering. It's like a very soft covering, and if you actually steep it, you'll see that it's a bud, which means that it's a leaf that hasn't fully realized and opened up yet. So within that, there's another bud, and within that, again, there's another bud or another leaf that hasn't been fully opened up. So when you steep it, the color's light, but the brew is just this very soft and very full mouth feel. Green is either typically steamed, baked, pan-fired, or roasted. And you can do any combination of those. So some regions are known for one type of tea, while other regions are known for another type of tea. So Japanese style green teas are typically steamed, while Chinese style are typically pan-fired or baked. Sometimes they'll combine a steaming and baking process. Oolong is anywhere from 1% oxidized to 99% oxidized, which basically means that it can look and smell and taste like a green, and it can look and smell and taste like a black, kind of everywhere in between. Black tea is 100% oxidized and 100% cooked. And this is, in my opinion, where you can really start to taste the terroir is through black tea, because it's gone through such an intensive process that you're able to really understand the different mineral content and soil conditions and get a really fine experience within, especially within black tea. Last within the tea category is pu-erh. And pu-erh is from Yunnan province. There are several famous mountain ranges within the region of pu-erh, and it's basically a fermented tea. They take the leaves, they massage the leaves, they store it in a very damp, moist environment in order to attract a certain type of bacteria. And that same bacteria that's used in beer and wine, that same bacteria is used to make pu-erh, and there's many different levels of pu-erh. Typically when it comes to tea, the younger, the fresher, the better, except for pu-erh. Pu-erh, the older it gets, the more valuable it becomes. And then there's tisane, and you could have a blend of different things like lemongrass and ginger and rooibos, and that's a tisane blend. But if you take that and you add tea, like let's say green tea, it's no longer a tisane, it's like a green tea fusion. So you can get really experimental, really fun. We have over 150 different teas at Art of Tea. Again, this video is meant to be just a quick snapshot on truly the Art of Tea, just on one foot, but come take a look back as we start to dive deeper into these different categories. So thanks for watching.